So what if you go on a date with a girl and the girl doesn't have anyone that she's seeing and she's not hooking up with anyone, but you assume she's lying, and then you don't pay for her date, and then she assumes that you're just, an asshole, a jerk, and doesn't go on a second date with you, but you just missed out on a girl that you would have wanted to
And she
with.
doesn't have OnlyFans?
No.
Okay.
You screwed up, basically, is what she's saying.
But look, here's the thing. One, if she's not dating other people, I'm going to kind of try to suss that out. Also, it also comes down to like earnings, differentials in earnings. So if she's a litigation attorney, I'm sorry, you're making $200K a year. I don't feel obliged in those circumstances.
But don't you want to be the gender roles that you argue for?
Yeah.
Well, is she a traditional woman?
She
And I think women have to go first on that.
She might be.
Women have to go first on
It's
that.
a two-way street.
Women.
Why? Why do women have to go first when you're the one who's supposed to ask us on
Well,
the date? And
bingo,
you're supposed
baby. Yeah,
and you're
man's
the one who's
supposed to
supposed to
lead.
Yeah.
you're supposed to get out on your knee. You're supposed to
Uh-huh.
propose to me. You're supposed to prove yourself to me.
But this is
That's
like
the whole
head of the
thing.
household.
The
But-
man
Like,
is
I
the
don't-
leader. And throughout
Unless you're a
history, the
sissy.
man's always been the leader.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, but if more people moved in a more traditional way, I would have no issue adhering to traditional gender roles and paying. But I don't want to be the sucker, because I've heard a lot of stories. And for example, this is the example I often give. I don't want to go on a date with a girl, go for a dinner date. I don't want to pay for her food, and then she gets a doggy bag to go. She gives me a ass out hug at the end of the date. She takes that doggy bag to the guy who she's sleeping with, who, by the way, never had to pay for anything because he's just really attractive and he's a Chad and just whatever. Gives him the food in which I paid for, the leftovers. He eats the food and then he hooks up with her.
So it's transactional. You're expecting to have sex with
No,
her
no,
after
no, that's not what I said. I just don't want to feel like a sucker.
I feel like that. Yeah, you just sound like a big bitch right now. Like, like if you were like, I feel like if you were like this like big macho masculine man, whatever, bitches wouldn't be playing you like that. They wouldn't even be able to play you.
Okay, there's a lot going on here. I'm going to try to make my criticism of what's going on here as brief as possible, but there's a lot going on. What they're trying to do to Brian, the host of this podcast, and I like Brian. He generally is a rational guy with some decent opinions. I'm not trying to trash him, because a lot of guys get caught where he's caught now. And the exit route is so clear and so simple that it's absurd to me that guys don't just take this exit route. But a lot of times you're kind of hung up in the moment. You're getting berated, you're getting barraged, and it doesn't seem clear to you how you should respond. And, you've got a lot of opponents here. He actually has the trad cuck, Michael Knowles, coming at him, who has suddenly sided with all the feminists on the other side of the table. So it's a weird position. And I hate to make a big deal out of silly things like these podcasts, but I think it's informative, because a lot of guys do find themselves trapped in day-to-day life in this position when they're trying to be rational and they're getting assaulted by a bunch of irrational people. So anyway, they're doing many things here. They're trying to cut down his stipulation that his date can't have done OnlyFans, and he has every right to say that. He has every right to make that a deal breaker if he doesn't want to date a woman who's been on OnlyFans. That's his right. But they're trying to undermine that. And they're also trying to undermine that he doesn't believe women today. He doesn't believe that when they tell him on this date, this hypothetical date, first date, that they're not seeing other guys, that they're not banging other guys, that they're on the level and they've come to the date, as Brian puts it, they come to the date properly single, that he doesn't believe them. So they're muddying the waters. They're, doing everything they can to undermine his very rational position, because they're women and that's what they do. But the real crux of it is that he should pay for the first date. That's what has everyone at this table, besides him, the rational actor in this situation, so energized and so highly motivated at this point in the podcast, whatever. They go over many subjects, but I just This podcast is 5 hours long. There's so much you could pick apart if you value these discussions and think they're interesting. And I'm still kind of whatever. The jury's out on that. But this part I think is important, I guess, for guys to pay attention to. Right. So as a guy, if you try to stand your ground and you try to be principled about not paying for the date, this is how you're going to get treated like some kind of pariah. And you just need to pass the shit test. This is a total shit test. Now, Michael Knowles is a cuck. He doesn't know what these girls are doing. He's just a simp who thinks that, traditional women can't do any wrong and blah, blah, blah. So he's not really the one you're passing the shit test for. He's just confused. But the women are just giving you a shit test, and you just need to pass it. I mean, to be fair, he kind of gets to the point, but not really. He kind of dances around it, and he doesn't nail it. And in these situations, you really just have to nail it and get past all the bullshit. The bottom line is, when you're hit with this, is, look, this is how you respond to these women. You're in the labor force now. You're competing with me for jobs. And while you're a competitor of mine for jobs in the workforce, I am not paying for anything for you. That's all. Bottom line. If you want me to play my traditional role as provider, don't be out there undermining my traditional role. You do your traditional role, which said, you do not do that to me. You're not in the labor force. And I don't give a damn about the social situation we're in or what the history that led up to it. The bottom line is, reality is, rational interpretation of what's going on around me is, you're my competitor and I don't do my competitor any favors. You don't like it, ladies? Don't be out in the labor force competing with me. Pass the shit test. Stop babbling like Brian here in response and coming up with some convoluted way in which you don't have to pay for the first date because she might be lying OnlyFans. She might be taking the doggy bag home to her Chad boyfriend. Who cares? Don't worry about any of that. Look them right in the eye and say, you're my competitor. I'm not paying for you. That's it. End of story. And if they don't like it, they can find a date with, Michael Knowles or somebody who would simp for them on the first date who doesn't get it because he's a trad cuck. Those are their choices. Just pass the shit test. That's all.
Yo, this is a test.